I'll take any questions you may have.
Today, so he told us how beautiful of a day it was. So
Who's that?
Matt did earlier.
Yeah. It's funny when the head coach is under the weather, everybody has to know about it. If everybody else is under the weather, we just can't talk about it. Is that an SMU shirt you got on?
It is.
All right. I like it. Fair catch, free hit. Yep. You have a question about it, or it was just everybody saw it? I didn't see it live. We were working it, but I got texts from about former players, current players, players on other teams, and so because everyone practices it, mostly through training camp. Everyone puts it in, and then you hit it somewhere during the season as one of the situational things that could possibly come up. And obviously they were prepared for it and came up, and Dicker the kicker had a hell of a kick. So. Actually, the closest we came, and you might remember, but we were in Dallas and we were playing Green Bay in the playoffs in 16. They punted late right before the half, and Beasley Fair caught the ball. We thought we could get ourselves in position, but I think it would have been a 73-yarder, and we just didn't feel like it was in our wheelhouse and didn't take the shot at it. So there's a lot of things that go on with it. The further back you are, obviously the ball's on the ground. It's different than being on a tee, and those guys would rather take their normal field goal approach to do the kick. So a bunch of guys work on, our guy works on, if it is going to be a 70-yard kick, it would look like a full kickoff approach, but it's a little bit more problematic when the ball's on the ground, not on a tee. So, but kudos to them, they did a great job with it.
So we asked you last week about the Cowboys game and the punt that got blocked and then went across. So when these types of things happen, I know you work on them from time to time, but does it serve as an opportunity to go over it again with the guys each time something out of the ordinary happens, or not really?
Yeah, again, I know you asked that last week, and you talked about the reel. Does this go on the reel? And Connor does a great job on Fridays with all the different situations come up around the league. What happened last week? I think there was 2 or 3 guys that dropped the ball before they crossed the goal line, right? So that's obviously going to make the reel. And then we always make a reel in the kicking game as well. I'm sure offensively and defensively, those guys make reels of things that happen to other teams in last week's games, and then we go over them usually on Friday. But for us, we do different phases each day, and so the things that happen in those phases, we'd put them usually on the end of the tape, and we'd hit those 2 or 3 things, with the guys. Because, like we said, I think last week everyone goes through things, right? Situations in games. So we're trying to not only learn from the screw ups that we have, but we're trying to learn from everyone else's, mistakes or the good things that they do as well. So.
What do you like about Edgerrin Cooper on teams, and to do everything he did on defense, and then to also, I know he didn't have 3 tackles technically, but the one
3 tackles technically.
So
you want to come watch your film? Come to my office. He should have had 4. He had a missed tackle. So should have had 4 on kickoff.
Oh, so the one where he hits him with one hand, then Eric Wilson comes in and...
No. That's his tackle. Eric gets an assist. He gets a cleanup. I'll grade the tackles. You can come look at them. You do whatever the hell it is you're doing on that paper right there.
Cooper gave you on teams on Sunday.
Well, it was good to have him back because he was second in tackles going into it, and now he's first in tackles. Zane moved to number 2. So, everyone likes everything about Edgerrin. I call him Frosty. That's kind of his nickname. You can ask him if he wants to tell you why. But, he's a ball magnet. That's the best thing about him that I can say. Athletically, he does things that you really can't teach, and we're just trying to put him in position in the kicking game to see where he can, where he can help us make a play. I think a few weeks ago he played out there at the flyer for us on the left side before he got his knick-knack, and we're glad to have him back.
What are the characteristics of a Darren Rizzi special teams?
They've always been, they're a rush first team on punt, and so they have a lot of different looks to prepare for. They bring the corners. We call them corner cats, and he's always had a really good return guy. Last year they hit us for a touchdown in last year's game. So he's been at it a long time. His players play with a lot of energy and a great zeal. They're complicated in their punt rushes, and he's been a good protection team, over time. And now he's got, a little familiar with what he's going through. You got to wear an extra hat, and I think that the whole team is playing really well. But certainly the special teams is in general for us, they're a fast physical unit. Now he's lost a couple guys that have been some really good players, the return guy and some of those guys. But some of the guys have come back and played for him that weren't playing earlier are still playing well. They've been in every game. So it's been a difficult team to prepare for.
That punt formation, do they use that regularly with the three
They
guys?
do it. They're almost doing it about half the time right now, close to half the time. So it's a little bit of a college shield or some form of spread punt to some degree. So again, we have to prepare for that. They did it to us last year. They jumped in it last year as well when they came here. So.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was just
Yeah,
going to
go
ask
ahead.
you what, issues that presents.
Well, it's a new formation that you have to prepare for, right? No different. The standard formation everyone prepares for every week, but when you have a team that jumps out into multiple formations and puts flyers on one side or the other, or puts wings way back off the ball, or puts the formation guard over or tackle over, you just have to prepare how to line up for it. You got to figure out who the center is and how you're going to line up, and then where the eligibles go. Who are the eligible players.
Rich, I can't remember a time where Daniel hit one like he did in that third. It's so unusual that he has one like he had in the third quarter. What happened?
Yeah, I think the Ram game, if you look at your memory back a little bit, he had that. Yeah, I think he had a 28-yarder out of there. So I think he overthought a little bit of the game. I think it was a better night than he thought it was going to be win-wise, and felt like he could go a little bit better directionally one way over the other, and just push his drop a little bit inside. Certainly wasn't the game he wanted. Now the one punt, that we downed on the 4 versus a 9-man front. I don't know if you guys saw the returner come over and they bring the extra guy off the edge, and he did a great job of getting the ball out of his hand and a great job of placing it down there, giving us a chance to make a play. I know he'd like to have those other ones back. Just thought his drop was a little bit off, and I think a little bit about he overthought some of the things he was trying to do directionally, but I'm expecting him to come back and play well.
He's been so good.
Yes, again, we talked about him, I think, last week. Maybe I'll stop talking about him, so. But he's been on the, I talk about some guys are on the roller coaster, they're on that thing clicks and clicks and clicks till it gets to the top and then shoo, right, it takes off. Well, he's still clicking on the roller coaster. I don't think he's gotten to where he's going to play. He's played his great game, his best game yet, and so I think he's got a lot of room for growth. He had a really good practice yesterday in the snow. Really wasn't much wind, but there was a lot of other distractions going on, so I'm expecting him to play well this week.
In addition to Waylon, Bo, Rochelle, Valentine as the Flyers, what about their contributions to that coverage team this season?
Obviously, it's kind of like when you play defense, rush and coverage go together. Well, for us, the protection and then obviously the punt and now the coverage of those two outside guys, especially when we're seeing a lot of 8-man fronts. Seattle kind of played us a little bit of a 7 and a hybrid 6. They had that 7th guy in the box and bounced out. So I think that had a little bit to do with him trying to go away from the doubles to some degree and, in the game. But I think obviously Bo's been, he's been outstanding now for 2 years, and we get contribution every time Scooter's up, every time Double Deuce is up, he plays well for us. And so we're hoping to have him up again this week. And then Rochelle's coming off, CV's coming off a little bit of a knick-knack, and hopefully he'll be full speed this week as well. But what they do on the outside, really helps us stay a little bit longer in protection, knowing that those guys can win on the outside.
You guys good?
Frosty, Body Beautiful, is this something that you like to do with all your guys? Or?
It makes it easier for me to remember who the hell they are, instead of calling them 56 and 45 and stuff like that.
In all seriousness, Rogers years ago used to talk about how giving guys nicknames was one small way that you created some connectivity with guys. Do you believe that?
Great comment, Yeah, great comment. I just think, again, especially early when guys first get here, there's so many guys, right? You have 90 guys on your roster, and sometimes if they remind you of someone else or something comes up that they do and you give them a nickname, it kind of helps you maybe build a relationship with them, to Aaron's point, a little bit. Frosty's, because anyway, it's interesting. But yeah, I do think that, and I've kind of done that, my whole career, just kind of somebody reminds you of somebody else, and they kind of give them a nickname. It helps you build, I think, like I said, build a relationship with them.